Good morning.
In unison, good morning.
Mr. Mesereau?
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Francia, we were discussing yesterday your first interview with two police detectives which took place on November 3, 1993, okay?
Okay.
That's where we left off. Now, did you discuss your testimony yesterday with anyone after you left the courthouse?
Yeah.
Who did you discuss it with?
My wife.
Anyone else?
No.
Did you discuss it with any prosecutor?
No, I was kind of nervous. I said, "How'd it go?" And they smiled and they said, "It went well."
And which prosecutor told you that?
I can't specifically remember, but it was one of them.
Okay. Did you discuss anything else with one of them?
No.
Did you talk with any sheriff about your testimony?
No.
Were you on the phone last night with anyone about your testimony?
No. I did tell my pastor this morning that I was on the stand, and if he could pray for me. But other than that, that was it.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay. Now, yesterday you told the jury that Mr. Jackson had given you some money, correct?
Right.
And you told them he had given you $100 bills, right?
Right.
Isn't it true that when you were originally interviewed by the police, you told them that Mr. Jackson would give you money each time you read a book?
Yeah, he also said that, as well. Yeah, he'd give me $20, I think it was.
And you told the police that you remember him having a room full of books, and you said every time you complete a book, he'll pay you some money, right?
I don't remember that, but I remember listening to it on the tape.
But that was your voice on the tape, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You also told the police that Mr. Jackson told you one time that if you got A's in school, he would also pay you every time you got an A, correct?
Yes, that is correct. I don't remember him saying that, but I remember it on the tape.
And that was your voice on the tape?
Yes, sir.
Telling it to the police, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you met with the prosecutors before you testified, did anyone tell you not to mention that when you talked about money?
No.
Okay. You just forgot?
I'm sorry?
You just forgot yesterday?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled. You may answer.
When you were responding the prosecutor's questions.
Wait. He has a question pending.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I overruled the objection.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, you just forgot yesterday?
I have no idea what you're referring to. I just forgot about what?
About Mr. Jackson paying you money for 1. Reading a book.
No.
And 2. Getting A's.
I didn't remember that, but I remember saying that on the tape.
Okay. Now, following your interview with two police officers in November of 1993, to your knowledge, Mr. Jackson was never charged with a crime involving anything you said, correct?
I don't know.
Okay. Did you ever hear anything about that?
No.
Okay. To this day, you're not sure if Mr. Jackson was ever charged with any crime involving.
I don't know.
What you claim happened.
No.
Okay. You also were interviewed a second time.
There's a hand being raised behind you guys over there.
You were interviewed a second time on March 24, 1994. Do you remember that?
Again, I personally don't remember, and I didn't even really listen to that tape, and I didn't get a transcript for it either, so I didn't even review it.
You were given a tape of your second interview?
I was, but I did not listen to it.
And who gave you that tape?
It came in the same packet as tape 1 and with the transcript.
Do you remember present at that interview was Thomas Sneddon?
I remember saying that yesterday, yeah. And I also remember saying that I was unsure if he was there or not.
Okay, but you do remember now he was there, right?
I did not say that.
Would it refresh your recollection if I just show you a transcript?
Sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this a transcript of 94?
Nods head up and down.
So these are the people that were there? I can't ask that.
He's asking you to look at that and see if that refreshes your memory to see.
No, it does not refresh my memory.
So you don't remember if you were interviewed by Tom Sneddon and 2 district attorneys in 94?
I remember Mike Kraft being there. That was the only person. And a woman being there. Other than that, I cannot, because I think that was the first time I told a woman what happened.
Do you remember someone named Lauren Weiss from the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office being there?
I don't. I'm really bad at names.
I have to complete the question. Thank you. Do you remember someone named Lauren Weiss from the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office being present at that interview?
No.
Do you remember someone named Bill Hodgman from the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office being at that interview?
No.
And you don't remember whether or not Mr. Sneddon was there, right?
Correct.
Are you saying he wasn't there, or you just don't remember?
I don't remember whether he was there or not.
Do you remember Russ Burchim being there?
I do not.
Do you remember your own lawyer, Terry Cannon, being there?
I do not.
Do you remember stating in that interview, "They made me come out with a lot more stuff I didn't want to say. They kept pushing. I wanted to get up and hit them in the head." Do you remember that?
No.
Would it refresh your recollection if I show you the transcript of that?
Probably not, but you can show it to me anyway.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
What page, counsel?
30.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at that page of the transcript?
I have.
Does it refresh your recollection about what you've said?
No, it does not.
Do you remember anything you said in that interview at the moment?
Not really.
Okay, alright. Do you remember in that interview telling the people who were present that at one point a woman came into a room where you and Michael were present?
No, I do not.
Do you remember seeing Janet Jackson on one occasion?
I remember saying that, or do I remember seeing her?
Do you remember seeing her?
I think I did meet her once.
Do you remember where you met her?
I think it was at the mansion in Encino.
Okay.
But I think that's where it was.
Okay. Do you remember telling the sheriffs that the first time you were tickled by Mr. Jackson you think it lasted about 30 seconds?
Are we talking the first interview, second interview?
Either one.
I do not remember.
Okay. You do remember giving more information the second time, correct?
Second time? Objection. Vague.
Excuse me. He's correct. I'll withdraw it. You do recall giving more information during your second interview than you did in your first, right?
I do not recall.
Okay. How did you meet attorney Terry Cannon?
I think I met them at Mike Kraft's office.
Excuse me, at whose office?
Mike Kraft's, my counselor.
Okay. And does Terry Cannon still represent you?
I don't think so, no.
Well, you gave an interview with Mr. Zonen in December of 2004, correct?
Yes. That was the first time I think I met them.
And Terry Cannon was present, correct?
You're right.
And Terry Cannon at that time was working for the district attorney's office in San Diego, correct?
Correct.
But he still came up to act like your lawyer, didn't he?
I'll object to the expression, act like your lawyer, vague. Or argumentative.
Well, I guess instead of, like, it might be, as.
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor. Mr. Cannon was present at your interview with Ron Zonen on December 6, 2004, right?
Yes, sir.
At that interview, he was serving as your lawyer, correct?
I don't know.
Do you know why he was there?
I didn't really know. I was asked actually, I didn't even know how I met you guys. I was asked to be there, I think, and he was there.
Okay. Did he give you any legal advice before that meeting?
Actually, he said, you don't have to answer things if you don't want to, but I think that was just man advice.
So he was giving legal advice?
I don't know if that's legal advice or not.
Did he discuss with you what you were going to say in that interview?
No.
Do you remember when that interview began? You requested that your interview not be tape recorded?
I don't remember that.
Would it refresh your recollection if I show you a report on that interview?
Okay, sure.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at that report?
I read the first paragraph.
And does it refresh your recollection that you requested that your interview not be tape recorded?
It does not, but I probably said that.
Okay. You don't know for sure, though?
No.
Okay. And you had requested that Mr. Cannon be present at the interview, right?
You're going to have to show me the paper probably.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Nods head up and down.
Have you had a chance to look at the report?
I did.
Does it refresh your recollection that you wanted Mr. Cannon present?
It does not refresh my recollection.
Let me just try and get this straight. You don't know why Mr. Cannon was there, correct?
Correct.
You didn't ask him to be there, right?
I don't remember whether I asked for him to be there or not. I probably did, only because he was a friend of mine and he knows more legal stuff than I do.
Okay. Did you know he was working for a district attorney's office at the time?
I believe I did, because we kept in touch.
Okay.
After I was 18.
Alright. Now, Mr. Zonen began that interview by telling you about the current case involving Mr. Jackson, right?
I didn't understand the question.
Well, let me try and rephrase it.
Okay.
At the beginning of that interview, Mr. Zonen gave you his summary of the current case against Mr. Jackson, right?
I believe so.
And he told you about a family named Arvizo, right?
Really bad at names. If that's, he told me about a child molestation.
Okay. These were the charges against Mr. Jackson, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Have you ever met Janet Arvizo?
I don't know who that is.
Ever met David Arvizo?
I don't know who that is.
Ever met Gavin Arvizo?
Oh, I do know who that is. No, I have not met him.
Have you ever met Star Arvizo?
I have never met an Arvizo, I don't think.
Never met Develin Arvizo, correct?
Right.
Have you ever talked to any of the Arvizo family on the telephone?
No.
Okay, but Mr. Zonen was telling you about the Arvizo family, was he not?
If that's the child's parents, then yes.
Incidentally, after your second interview, which you don't remember a lot about, to your knowledge, no criminal charges were ever filed against Mr. Jackson involving anything you had told anybody, right?
I don't know.
You still don't know?
Are you talking about 94, the 94 interview?
Yes.
Okay, and you're asking if there was criminal charges pressed against Michael?
I'm asking you what you know, okay? You've already indicated that after your 93 interview, no criminal charges were ever filed against Mr. Jackson involving anything you said, right?
I don't know much. I don't watch the news.
Okay. And after your 94 interview, again, no criminal charges were ever filed against Mr. Jackson involving anything you said, right?
I don't know.
Okay. But at your 94 interview, you do remember Terry Cannon being present, right?
I don't know. I don't know who was present other than Michael Kraft in 94.
Okay. To your knowledge, was it your mom's idea for you to have an attorney at that meeting?
To my knowledge, I don't know.
Okay. And again, just for the record, how old were you?
I'll object as vague as to which meeting.
He's correct. I'll withdraw it.
All right.
To your knowledge, was it your mother's idea to have an attorney be present at the March 24, 1994, interview?
To my knowledge, I have no clue.
Okay.
When I was 13, I was really protected by my mom, so I didn't know much.
Okay.
About anything.
And certainly when you were 13, you didn't hire an attorney, someone else did, right?
I didn't, probably.
Okay. Do you remember meeting with attorney Terry Cannon, with your mother, in 1994?
I do not remember, but I'm sure we did.
Okay, alright. Do you remember meeting with any other attorneys that your mother had retained in 1994?
Other than Terry Cannon?
Yes.
I don't remember, but there was another attorney, which is Kris Kallman.
Okay, and Kris Kallman is the attorney who represented you in a settlement with Mr. Jackson, right?
I don't know whether it was Kris or Terry.
And Kris also represented your mother, who wanted a settlement with Mr. Jackson, correct?
I don't know.
Now, do you know whether or not your mother went to these attorneys after she learned that Mr. Jackson had settled with someone named Chandler?
I do not.
Objection. lack of foundation.
Court reporter. Was that an answer on there?
Yes.
I'll overrule the objection. The answer was, I do not.
Why didn't you want your interview in December of 2004 with the prosecutor's tape recorded?
I don't know.
You don't have any idea why you made that request?
Tape recording is weird. I don't know. No, I don't.
Okay. Do you remember telling Prosecutor Zonen in the December 2004 interview regarding the first incident you described, okay, that you and Mr. Jackson were in a tickle contest? Do you remember that?
I do not. I don't know whether it was the first interview or the second interview that we talked about Michael molesting me.
Well, actually, in the December interview, you told Prosecutor Zonen that, in all three instances that you described where you claim you were inappropriately touched, every incident was preceded by a tickling contest between you and Mr. Jackson, right?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection just to show you the report?
You can show it to me, but I don't know whether it was the first or the second.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to review that page of the report?
I didn't read the whole page. I read that paragraph.
Does it refresh your recollection about what you told Prosecutor Zonen in that December 6, 2004, interview?
It doesn't help remembering, but.
Well, you told him that all three events that you described were preceded by a tickling contest, correct?
I don't remember.
You and Mr. Jackson were in a contest as to who could tickle the most, correct?
I just said I don't remember that. I don't mean to sound like I'm wasting your time, but this is kind of hard being up here, and.
No, please don't. Just respond to my questions, if you would, please.
Okay, sorry.
Now, on November 19, 2004, Prosecutor Zonen and Auchincloss interviewed your mother at the district attorney's office, right?
I don't know. Me and my mother don't talk about that stuff much.
Well, you were present, weren't you?
Now I remember, yes.
Now you remember?
Yeah, I was present there.
You not only were present, but you also requested that not be tape recorded, correct?
Probably.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at that report?
No, but bring it on up.
May I approach, Your Honor?
No, he said it wouldn't.
You're not willing to look at it?
It's not about me willing. I'm willing to look at it, but it's not going to help.
Well, that was last November you had that interview with your mom and these prosecutors, correct?
Again, this is all difficult.
I know it's difficult, but you're saying you don't remember that interview?
You just said I met with my mom and I was there, and I didn't remember until you said that, and then I remembered.
Do you remember you and your mom both requested that the interview not be tape recorded?
I do not.
Would it refresh your recollection to see what it says in the report about that?
Bring it over. Yeah, bring it over.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Have you had a chance to look at the page of that report?
Yeah, I read the first paragraph.
Does it refresh your recollection about you and your mother both requesting no tape recording?
No, it does not.
Okay, you don't remember one way or the other about that.
Right.
Okay. Now, on that particular day, and I'm referring to November 19, 2004, you were interviewed as well, correct?
Was this when my mother was present?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you remember you were interviewed on that day?
I think I was just there for my mom.
Well, actually, they interviewed your mom first and then they interviewed you second, correct?
I don't remember that.
Okay. They interviewed you for about an hour, didn't they?
They may have.
Would it refresh your recollection if I show you the report about that?
No.
You're not willing to look at it?
I'll look at it, but no, it probably won't.
You don't remember an hour interview on November 19, 2004?
Again, the issue is it's all kind of blending in together.
You do remember the December interview with Prosecutor Zonen, right?
You asked me that.
Yes.
Go ahead, ask it again. Do I remember the December interview?
Yes.
I remember it taking place. I don't remember what specific was asked.
Actually, let me clarify the date.
Okay.
I'm talking about the report. You were interviewed on October 18, 2004, by prosecutors, right?
I'm sorry?
You were interviewed on October 18 by prosecutors, correct?
Of 2004?
Yes.
I believe that was the first time that I met these guys, but I don't know.
And then you were interviewed approximately a month later on November 19, right?
You got a bunch of hands raised behind you.
Mr. Mesereau, could you check if it's on? I guess they can't hear you back there.
Sorry, that's what was kind of distracting me.
I had mentioned a December date. Actually, you were interviewed in October and November of 2004, right?
October, November, December. I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember having Terry Cannon?
They're raising their hands again.
Quit hitting my microphone.
Oh, okay.
Beat the poor thing. You know. What's happening? You have a book that's hitting the off button. I can see from here that you can't see, maybe.
I think it's on, but.
Gently.
Yeah, it's bad to hit mics.
Actually, it's, when you step back and are at a far distance, it's hard to hear.
Okay. In your interview with the prosecutors on October 18.
This is the first one?
Well, first we have 93. Then we have 94.
Okay.
Then we have October of 2004, and then November of 2004. Okay?
Okay.
In your interview in October of 2004, you were asked about the third incident where you claim Mr. Jackson tickled your testicles, right?
I was probably asked that, yes.
Do you remember you told the prosecutors it lasted for more than 10 seconds, but you don't know how much longer after that?
I don't remember saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you your report?
My report? No, it wouldn't.
Well, the police reports.
The police report. I'll look at it, but it's probably not going to help.
Are you willing to give it a chance?
Yeah.
Think it might help?
No, I'm sorry. But you can. I'll give it a shot.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at the page of that report?
I have.
Does it refresh your recollection that you told the prosecutors it lasted more than 10 seconds?
It does not help me remember.
Don't remember that at all?
No, but I could probably agree with it if it was in the report.
Okay. Before either the October interview or the November interview with prosecutors, did you discuss what you were going to say in any of those interviews with your mother?
No.
You would agree that attorney Terry Cannon was present at both the October interview, 2004, and the November interview, 2004, right?
I can't remember whether he was there on the November one with me and my mom.
Did you discuss what you were going to say at either interview in advance with attorney Terry Cannon?
I don't think so.
How did he end up showing up for any of those interviews, if you know?
I think he called me and said I might be subpoenaed for this. I think Kris called me and said I might be subpoenaed up here.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said yesterday that you never knew that your mother had gotten $20,000 from the television show Hard Copy to give an interview.
I think you're wrong.
Okay. Did you know that before you testified yesterday?
Yes.
And when did you first learn that your mother got $20,000 to give an interview with Hard Copy in the early 90s?
I think it was last Sunday.
Okay. And I guess she told you that?
No.
She's never told you that?
That she received $20,000? She has never told me that.
Did you know before last week that your mother had been paid to go on the television show Hard Copy?
I think I assumed it.
Okay. But you didn't know for sure?
I didn't know for sure.
Never discussed it with her?
I don't think I did, no.
Okay. All right. Now, you admitted that at the beginning of your first interview with sheriffs in 93, you said that Mr. Jackson had not touched your genital area, right?
I said that at the very beginning.
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
It was only after you were pushed real hard by the sheriffs that you began to say anything like that, true?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
And at one point a sheriff actually used a curse word to get you to say something, correct?
I don't remember that, but you could show me the thing.
Okay, but as you sit here today, you don't remember, right?
I don't remember the four-letter word. Everybody in junior high cussed.
How about the word bullshit?
What about it?
Do you remember a sheriff telling you that?
I don't, but I think I remember listening to it on the tape.
Do you remember in that interview one sheriff telling you, Mr. Jackson is a molester, and the other saying, he makes great music, he's a great guy, bullshit? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that specifically, but I think I remember hearing it on the tape, which was my voice, or his voice.
You do remember a sheriff's voice saying that, right?
I don't remember right now if 93, but I remember listening to the tape.
Okay, and a sheriff said that to you, correct?
I believe so.
And the sheriffs complained that Mr. Jackson has a lot of money in that interview, right?
I believe he did say that, but can I look at the paper?
Sure. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at the transcript?
I did.
Does it refresh your recollection about what the sheriff said to you about Mr. Jackson in the interview?
I don't remember that specifically, but reading it in the transcript, I remember reading that in the transcript when I read it on Sunday, when I reviewed the tape.
And even after sheriff said to you, he's a molester, he's a great guy, makes great music, bullshit, he has lots of money, you still said he had never touched your genital area, right?
I believe so, probably towards the beginning again.
Do you remember the sheriff interviewing you wanted to know whether Mr. Jackson went under your pants or on top of your underwear, and you said, I don't know?
I'm sorry?
Do you remember the interviewing sheriff asked you, have you ever been touched under your pants or on top of your underwear? And you said, I don't know.
Were we talking about a specific incident?
I'm just asking about the interview.
Oh, then.
I'll object as vague, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Do you remember in that interview, when you first said in response to the sheriff's questions, Mr. Jackson touched me, you had no idea how long he had ever touched you?
Objection. Vague. Which incident?
During any incident?
Do you want to rephrase the whole question?
Sure. Do you remember in your first interview with the sheriffs when, after repeated questioning, you finally said, Mr. Jackson touched me? Do you remember not knowing how long he had ever touched you at any time?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember telling the sheriffs that Mr. Jackson, during your tickle games, used to pinch you in the stomach?
Tickling, pinching, same thing.
Okay. You did tell the sheriffs in your first interview you had never spent the night with Mr. Jackson, right?
I never slept in his bed with him.
Okay. When did you last talk to attorney Terry Cannon?
Yesterday.
Did you talk about your testimony?
No.
Did you talk about the case?
Nope.
Did he call you?
Wait, actually, I'm sorry, I didn't talk about the case, but I talked about I was being nervous up here.
Did you call him or did he call you?
He called me.
When did you last talk to attorney Terry Cannon before yesterday?
I really cannot remember the specific date.
Now, in your interview of March 24, 1994, you didn't remember what cartoons you were watching when you claim you were improperly touched, right?
I don't know.
Did you know you were being tape recorded in that interview?
You know what? I don't know. Typically I'd remember that.
And do you remember telling the interviewers that Michael Jackson tickled you in your stomach?
No.
You don't remember that?
No. Can I review that?
Sure.
Is that, it was being taped then? Or you can't say, okay, yeah.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
What page, counsel?
58.
Okay.
You remember telling the people interviewing you that Mr. Jackson did tickle you in your stomach, right?
I do not remember saying that, but I probably said that.
Okay. Do you remember in that interview when you finally said Mr. Jackson had touched your penis, that you told the interviewers, he tickled me there? Right?
I don't know.
Do you remember you were asked, what did he do with his hands? And you said, he tickled me. Do you remember that?
What did he do with his hands? And I said, he tickled me.
Yes.
That's kind of vague. Like overall he tickled me, or what are you talking about?
You were asked what Mr. Jackson did with your penis. Do you remember that? And you said, he tickled me. Do you remember that?
He did tickle me.
Okay. You were asked to describe what Mr. Jackson did with his hands, and your response was, "He tickled me," true?
I don't know. I was probably crying then.
Would you like to review the transcript? See if it refreshes your recollection?
Sure.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
By the way, if you don't remember the interview, how do you know you were crying?
Because I usually cry when we're talking about the molestation.
Okay. Again. Do you remember saying to the police officers in response to their question, "What did he do with your penis?" You said, "He tickled me."
I thought you were going to bring me that thing.
Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember describing what Mr. Jackson did as tickling?
Do I remember describing what Michael Jackson did as tickling?
Yes.
Like tickling my penis or?
Yes.
Are we talking the first or second or third incident?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to object as vague.
The objection is sustained.
Do you remember telling the interviewers in that second interview in 1994, when they asked you what Mr. Jackson did with your penis, you said, "He didn't really touch it, he was above my shorts." Do you remember that?
Are we talking first or second or third?
I believe you were just answering their questions.
Objection. Vague.
Sustained. Counsel. You're going to have to direct. If you're going to question in this manner, you're going to have to direct it to specific times. There were 3 interviews.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
And you're being unfair to the witness in my opinion.
Okay, directing you to the second interview that you ever gave about these events, okay? And that was the interview.
In 94?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay?
I thought we were talking about 2004. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's my mistake, I apologize. Let's talk about the 1994 interview.
Okay.
All right, do you remember being asked the question, "Did Mr. Jackson touch your penis?" And you said, "He didn't really touch it, he was above my shorts."
I do not.
Wait. Just a minute.
I'm sorry.
I want you to approach.
Sure. Discussion held off the record at sidebar.
All right. You may proceed.
Okay. I'm going to try and direct my questions to a particular interview, one of the 4 that you had, and direct them to one of the 3 events that you have described when you claim Mr. Jackson improperly touched you, okay? Now, directing your attention to the second interview, which is in 1994, okay? And directing your attention to the first event that you have described where you claim Mr. Jackson improperly touched you, okay? Do you remember, excuse me? Isn't it true that, when asked about the first event in that second interview, you said Mr. Jackson didn't really touch your penis?
I don't.
What page?
60.
No, I don't remember.
Would it refresh your recollection if I show you a page of that transcript?
Bring it over.
May I approach?
Yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to look at that page?
I have. Well, not the tape. I've read those 2 little sentences there.
Does it refresh your recollection of what you told the people who were interviewing you about that first event during the interview in 1994?
It does not refresh my memory. But in reading it.
Wait. That's the end of your answer.
Okay, sorry.
Listen to the question and just answer the question asked.
Okay.
You just don't recall saying that, right?
Correct.
Could you please describe, to the extent you remember, the sleeping bag in the apartment that you called the hideout?
Describe the bag itself?
Yes. If you remember. How big it was, where it was, etc.
Near a window. If you're looking at the TV, to the right of the TV.
And there was no furniture in the apartment that you remember?
I did not say that.
Okay. What did you say?
I said that there was an L-shaped couch in the hideout somewhere, in the living room, I believe.
Okay. And at any time when you claimed you were improperly touched, were you sitting on the couch?
No, I never said that either.
During the events that you've described at the hideout.
Okay.
Where you say you were improperly tickled, okay.
Okay.
Were you always on top of the sleeping bag?
No, the first time I was on a chair.
Okay. The second time you were on a sleeping bag, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did both of those instances start out as tickle contests?
Yeah.
Okay. And in both of those incidences that you've described, you recall it starting out as innocent sort of tickling and leading to an improper touching, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, you've admitted that Mr. Jackson said he would pay you money for completing a book and also for getting A's in school, right?
I remember hearing that on the tape.
Do you recall Mr. Jackson saying that to you?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Do you recall being paid for reading a book?
I wasn't a reader.
Did you ever tell Mr. Jackson, if you remember, I've completed a book?
If I did, I don't know.
Okay. Do you remember telling Mr. Jackson you got A's in school?
If I did get an A, it was probably in PE.
And do you remember telling that to Mr. Jackson?
I don't think I ever did. I don't know.
Okay. Now, without going into any amounts, when did you ever receive any money?
From Michael?
From a settlement.
Oh.
In your case.
From the settlement?
Without going into any amounts, just when did you first receive any money?
When I turned 18.
Okay. Without going into any amounts, do you know if your mother has received any money from Mr. Jackson?
She has.
Do you know approximately when she received money from a settlement?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know if it was before you did?
I think it was.
Okay. Have you ever been approached by anyone in the media who wanted to talk to you about anything involving Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And when did that happen?
Geez. When I was in junior high. When I was, in 93, 94 I think. Recently. Well, actually, not recently. A couple years ago. The media.
Do you know how the media ever heard about you?
I don't.
Okay.
Actually, I talked to a media guy once.
Who was that?
I don't remember. He had a British accent. But I did not say anything about the case, or anything about Michael. What?
And when did this happen?
I'm not sure the witness had completed his answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he had. Were you finished?
No, I wasn't.
My mistake.
Let's just stop. There wasn't any question pending. He was in a narrative for some reason. Next question.
Okay.
Do you know approximately when you spoke to a representative of the media?
I don't. I know I was late to class, but I don't. I was in, probably, 92 or 93.
How about in the last couple years? Anyone approach you, to your knowledge?
Well, to my knowledge, no. They tried to, but I somehow always evade them. Not on purpose. It just happens.
In your second interview in 1994, you were asked, did you ever have any discussion with Michael Jackson about whether you should tell anybody about the things you described? Remember that?
Shakes head from side to side.
You don't? Okay.
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you remember telling the interviewers, when you were asked, do you remember anything that he said, you said, no, I'm working on that?
No.
I'll object as to which interview. Vague.
In the second interview, I'm sorry. In the second interview, let me rephrase the question. I'll withdraw it. In the second interview in 1994, okay?
Okay.
That was recorded. All right. When asked if Mr. Jackson said anything to you about whether you should discuss what happened, do you remember telling the interviewers, no, but I'm working on that?
I do not remember that.
Would it refresh your recollection if I show you the transcript?
No, but you could bring it over.
Well, I can't unless you're willing to see if it refreshes your recollection.
Okay, bring it over. I'll give it a shot. I'll read it just to see if it refreshes my memory.
May I approach?
Yes.
Page, counsel?
Yes. Pages 105, 106.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to review those pages?
I have.
Of your transcript? Do they refresh your recollection about what you said on that subject?
No, it does not.
It doesn't.
Sorry.
Now, in that interview you indicated that you were aware that another boy had sued Mr. Jackson seeking money, right?
I'm sorry, which interview? Objection.
I'm sorry. The second. Let me rephrase it. In the second interview that you gave in 1994, okay?
Okay.
You indicated that you were aware that someone else had sued Mr. Jackson for money, correct?
I don't remember.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the transcript?
Probably not.
Okay.
Both of them are really blurry. It was just hard for me at the time.
Well, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Looking back, when is the first time you recall you knew someone else had sued Mr. Jackson looking for money?
Probably 16.
Excuse me?
I was probably 16, because that's when money started being an issue for me.
Okay, now, in your last interview with Prosecutor Zonen, and I'm talking about an interview on November 19, 2004, okay. Mr. Cannon was present, right?
I don't know.
Do you recall Mr. Cannon not wanting a defense investigator present?
No, I don't recall.
Did you know anything about that?
No.
Okay, at this time, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Redirect?
Mr. Francia, did you get any money from Mr. Jackson for reading a book?
I don't think so.
Did you ever get any money from Mr. Jackson for getting A's?
I don't think so.
Were grades a problem for you when you were in school about that time?
Shoot, through all my whole life, grades were a problem.
Do you sometimes have difficulty with reading?
Yeah.
At this time even?
Yeah.
All right. A lot of questions were asked of you by Mr. Mesereau that dealt with that first interview that took place in 1993, the first time that there was a disclosure. And you indicated, I believe, that what you said toward the end of the interview was very different than what you said at the beginning of the interview. Would you explain that for us, please? Why is that?
Why there was a difference in the beginning and...
Yes.
Because in the beginning, I thought I could hold them off and make them go away. And they didn't go away. At all. It's kind of an issue when I was 13. I didn't want to tell anybody that I'd been molested. That I didn't want to tell anybody that anything ever happened to me. That's weird.
Why?
Because you're 13. That's weird.
What were the issues that you were dealing with at that time about that?
In 5th grade, I told my friends that I knew Michael Jackson, and I thought it was cool. My friends thought it was cool. They didn't believe me, but they thought it was cool. In junior high, it's no longer cool to know somebody that had issues with kids, because then they're going to make fun of you. And even at the church, they made fun of me. At the church, worse than school, they made fun of me.
And you were actually teased?
Yeah.
You said yesterday to one of Mr. Mesereau's questions that you told the detective, "No, I'm not gay." Did you make that statement to them?
I remember listening to it in the tape. I don't recall saying that. But I remember listening to it on the tape.
Do you recall whether or not that was an issue for you during the course of that interview? That was one of your concerns, that people would see you as that?
Yes. That was a concern of mine.
You mentioned yesterday to one of Mr. Mesereau's questions that the defendant put the money down your pants. Would you describe that for us?
What do you want to know?
Where did the money go? In other words, when he gave you money, did he hand it to you, or did he do something else? And if so, tell us what that is.
He put the money in my shorts, because I pulled it out, and that's when my mom noticed that I had pulled money out of my shorts and she asked me where I got it from.
Do you remember which of the 3 occasions this was?
I can't remember whether it was the first or the second.
But this was back when you were young?
Yeah.
7 or 8?
7 or 8.
You say in your shorts. What are we talking about? In a pocket?
I don't think my mom put pockets on the shorts.
That was a little more complicated?
She's a good seamstress, but I don't think for shorts.
Tell us as best you can recall, where would that money have been?
That would have been in my shorts.
I'm sorry?
It would have been in my shorts.
In the inside?
In the inside.
Do you know if the money was in your underwear?
I don't know.
Mr. Mesereau asked you yesterday questions about whether you talked to your mother about what had happened, and if so, to what extent. Did you ever have a conversation with your mother where you told her that you were molested?
I think I told her that I was molested in counseling, because then she shared that she was molested as well.
Okay. Did you ever tell her the details of the molestation?
No.
What had happened, how it happened, how often it happened, any of those types of details?
I don't think so.
To this day, have you ever?
To this day. My wife found out on the stand.
The details you had not yet told your wife?
Right.
Have you ever told anybody the details other than your therapist?
My pastor.
Your pastor?
And I don't think I told him the details.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Recross?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. You may step down. He needs to move away.
Don't forget your jacket. Call Kris Kallman, Your Honor.
Come forward to the witness stand, please. When you get to the witness stand, remain standing. Face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Yes.
Please be seated. State and spell your name for the record.
My name is Kris, Kris, Kallman, Kallman.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Kallman.
Good morning, Mr. Sneddon.
You're an attorney?
Yes.
Licensed to practice in the state of California?
Yes, sir.
And what is your brief educational background to prepare you for the practice of law in the state of California?
Well, I graduated from Santa Barbara High School, went to Santa Barbara City College, graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, went to Pepperdine University Law School.
Do you have a certain area of law that you specialize in?
Yes. I am a civil trial lawyer, and for the most part, I represent people that get injured due to the fault of another person or company.
How long have you been practicing law in the state of California?
29 years.
And how long have you lived in Santa Barbara County?
My whole life, except when I was away at college.
And where do you live in Santa Barbara County?
I live in Santa Barbara, on the Mesa, in the city.
Now, during the time that you've practiced law in Santa Barbara County, have you had associates that have practiced with you in your firm?
Yes.
Are you a sole practitioner?
Essentially. Although I currently have 2 lawyers that office with me and they act as of counsel. They're not employees, but they help me out on cases.
Are you familiar with an attorney by the name of Terry Cannon?
I sure am.
And how long have you known Mr. Cannon?
Oh, I've known Mr. Cannon for at least 20 years.
And at some point in time prior to today, was Mr. Cannon one of the people who was associated with you in the practice of your civil practice?
Yes.
And during what period of time was that? Do you recall?
Well, the relevant period here would have been in the early to mid-90s.
And at that time Mr. Cannon was practicing with you?
He was associating with me on certain cases.
And do you recall where Mr. Cannon was residing at that particular point in time?
I believe he was living in Santa Barbara.
Now, at some later time, did Mr. Cannon leave your association and take up the practice of law somewhere else?
Yes.
To your knowledge, where was that?
In Oregon.
And then after that, did Mr. Cannon come back?
He came back to San Luis Obispo County, and then moved to San Diego County.
And at this particular point in time, do you know where Mr. Cannon is?
Not exactly this moment, but I happen to know that he bought a condominium here in Orchid.
And is he, once again, associated with you in the practice of law?
Yes, sir.
Now, did you have occasion to represent Jason Francia in some litigation?
He and his mother, yes.
And can you tell us, did you ever prepare a lawsuit on behalf of Jason Francia?
We prepared a complaint, which is a document that's the beginning of a lawsuit, yes.
And when you say, we, who's we?
Mr. Cannon and myself.
So Mr. Cannon was working with you on that particular case?
Yes, sir.
And after the preparation of that document, well, with regard to that document, what were the allegations set forth in the proposed complaint to be filed?
Well, it's been.
Objection. Hearsay. Relevance.
Sustained.
Who was the individual that the complaint was directed towards?
Mr. Jackson.
At some point in time, did you have contact with individuals who were representing Mr. Jackson over the proposed filing of the civil complaint?
Yes.
And who did you make contact with?
Initially our contacts were with Johnny Cochran and his associate, Carl Douglas.
Do you recall approximately when it was when you first made contact with Mr. or when contact was made between you and Mr. Cochran and Mr. Douglas?
It was either late 94 or early 95.
Did you, after your conversations with those individuals, file the civil lawsuit?
No.
At some point in time later, were you then dealing with other lawyers with regard to the proposed filing of that civil lawsuit?
Yes. At some point, Mr. Jackson's representation was assumed by a lawyer named Zia Madaber, and a lawyer named Howard Weitzman.
And do you recall approximately when it was that you then began contact with those particular individuals?
I believe it was in mid-1995.
And the purpose of those contacts?
Well, the
Objection. Vague. Foundation.
Overruled. You may answer.
The purpose of the contacts was that they knew that we had a complaint that we were about to file in Santa Barbara County Superior Court, and they didn't want us to do that.
Objection. Hearsay. Foundation.
The answer is stricken. Sustained.
As a result of the conversations between these individuals, did you pursue your lawsuit?
Well, we never filed the lawsuit.
Did you reach an agreement, a settlement agreement?
Yes, we did.
Did you reach a settlement agreement in which Jason Francia received monetary compensation from Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
Did you reach an agreement in which Blanca Francia received monetary compensation from Mr. Jackson?
Yes, we did.
During the time that you were representing, during the time that you had prepared a complaint ready to be filed and you were in contact with attorneys representing Mr. Jackson, can you give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury an idea of how old Jason Francia was at that particular point in time?
Well, he was about 14 years old. He's 24 now, as I understand it, and we're talking about things that happened just about exactly 10 years ago.
And in your position as a civil litigator, at the time that an individual is of minority, at the age of 14, how do you deal with representing a person like that?
Well, a child.
Objection. Vague. Foundation. Relevance.
Overruled. You may complete your answer.
A child, under California law, under the age of 18, is not permitted to enter into a contract. I suppose he or she could, but it wouldn't be enforceable. So the only way a child can act legally is through a guardian ad litem. And it's normally the parent and normally the mother.
Was that the case in this particular instance?
Yes.
Now, during the course of the time that you were involved in obtaining a settlement from Mr. Jackson on behalf of the Francias, did you deal personally with Jason at any time?
Yeah, sure.
In what respect?
Well, I knew who he was, I met with him. I met with he and his mom. He was a teenage boy, and a nice young man.
Now, at some point in time was Jason required to sign some kind of documents in conjunction with the settlement?
Yes. When he turned 18, part of the condition was that he sign a confidentiality agreement.
Now, with regard to the confidentiality, and to your knowledge, did he sign that?
Yes.
And with regard to the confidentiality agreement, did it have a provision that required notice to Mr. Jackson in the event that Jason Francia talked to anybody?
Objection. Leading. Move to strike.
Overruled. You may answer.
I believe so, yes.
And what was the requirement notice in the confidentiality agreement with regard to notice to the defense?
I believe it's 5 days.
And were you at some point contacted by Mr. Zonen of our department with regard to interviewing your Jason Francia?
Yes.
And in that particular case, did you indicate to Mr. Zonen that you would have to do something before you could agree with that?
Yes.
And what was that?
Well, I'd have to notify somebody on Mr. Jackson's legal staff that they wanted to talk to him.
And did you do that?
Yeah, yes. Excuse me.
And did you then grant permission for Mr. Zonen to have a conversation with Jason Francia?
Yes.
Now, were you present during the conversations between Jason Francia and Mr. Zonen?
I don't think so. I think I was there, and then I think I had to go to another court or something like that. I don't remember being an integral part of any of those. If there was more than one, I don't even know.
And I'm talking about the conversations that occurred after you gave notice to the defense in this case, or gave notice to Mr. Jackson. To your knowledge, was Mr. Cannon present?
I believe so, at least for part of it. Again, I'm not certain.
Do you remember when it was that the year that you finally reached a settlement agreement with Mr. Jackson?
Yes. It's been a long time. But it was a big deal. And I do remember.
Objection. Non-responsive. Move to strike.
The answer is stricken. Non-responsive.
Just.
Yes.
And what year was that, approximately?
It was either 95 or 96, I believe.
Counsel, we'll take our break.